applying for. If you're applying for a game company, for example, who's mostly doing like fantasy games, then I would put other stuff in it than I would if I would work for a film project which is about science fiction. So always adjust what you show, how you feel it's valuable for the thing you apply for. Having said that, I always try to still keep a little bit of an overview. So if I would apply for a specific project, I would try to focus my work on that, but I would also keep a lot of a small part of my portfolio which shows just the bandwidth of everything what I'm able to do. So because sometimes it's a project, it's a problem that you apply for something and like the production designer wants to see oranges and you have just peaches in your portfolio and bananas, and the production designer doesn't believe that you can do oranges if you have all kinds of other fruits but oranges in your portfolio. And that's sometimes stupid, because like if you can do all these different fruits, then it's no problem to just do his oranges. But sometimes you just need to show exactly the right thing to get him like your work. So it's always a little bit of a gamble, but I would say you're pretty safe if you make some research what the company or the studio you're applying for does, and just put like 70% of stuff which kind of goes in that direction into your portfolio, and then as a backup keep 30% which shows your bandwidth of other work you're able to do. Okay.
A lot. And I think we are approaching our time, but I think we can ask one or two more questions. So I'm going to go back to the beginning for those people that ask multiple questions. Since we went through the entire list for the most part, I think I can ask those second questions now. So we're going to go back to Greg Lambrisk, who didn't have a mic before. His second question was, to get a job at a game or film studio, would you recommend mastering one discipline or developing a variety of 2D and 3D capabilities?
I mean, lately there are more and more people who are able to do both, and I think it doesn't hurt at all to be able to do some 3D work, but it doesn't hurt. But on the other side, on the other hand, there are so many different programs out there today that it's kind of hard for you to learn everything. I mean, I would like to get better in 3D programs. I would like to animate stuff, but the day has just 24 hours. So it's good to know a lot of things, but on the other hand, it's like important to focus yourself on something to become really good in that one thing. So
okay.
I can't answer this question like generally, because there are some people who are very good as an all-rounder and some people who are really good in something like specific. So good for that.
Patrick, that's good, I think.
Greg, I hope it answers the question.
Okay, Greg has other questions, but I'm going to go down the list to the people that have second questions as well. So sorry, Greg. Let's go down to, let me see here. I think it was Mauricio that may have had an additional question. Actually, no. Greg has a bunch of questions. I think, is it Jake? Yes, I think it's Jake Kwon, I think, had another question. Let me see 1 second, Patrick. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake Kwon's next question was, as a person who is versed mainly in traditional techniques, what would be the best way to try and learn these speed painting techniques and styles?
Okay. I envy you. I would like to be able to paint traditionally, but I kind of learned in reverse. I learned everything in digital, and now I have this I don't know. It's like hard for me to get into traditional painter um, into traditional painting direction, because I feel it's always so much easier and faster in Photoshop. So it's hard for me to answer this question how it's the other way around. I would say the most important thing for you is to get comfortable in Photoshop, to just choose a couple of tools you like, you would also use traditionally, and set up Photoshop in a way that you can that you feel comfortable in it, to have to access all your important functions with hotkeys. And if you feel comfortable with it, then I would just try to do what you do traditionally, but yeah, digitally. So for you, the problem is just like the interface, which is different. So to eliminate this kind of border in between this interface, I would just try to minimize the boundary. I would just try to feel as comfortable as possible in Photoshop, and then apply what you know traditionally to the digital world. Yes. So,
Okay, thank you, Patrick. We have one. I'm gonna ask one more question, but before I get to that last question, do you remember the one we had about the whole mask issue that Todd asked you earlier? He had a follow-up question. He says, "It makes sense. I understand how to do masks, but can't seem to do it on a curves layer like you were. It looked like you were painting right on the curves. Is that right?"
so actually, like a curved layer is like a normal layer. It should be able to attach a mask to that layer. So the mask on a curved layer would also just hide and show certain areas of this adjustment you did with a curve. So it should be possible. And I'm not sure, but it might even be the case that it automatically has a curve layer. So just there's this little tiny curve symbol, and right next to it there should be a white or black square which indicates the curve layer, and in between there's a little chain symbol. So just watch out for that, and the second one should be the mask layer.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll ask, this is the last question before we end this session. I'm just answering a question really quick. You can hear me typing, of course. Sorry, one second.
Answer with yes or no.
The last question we have, I'm going to give from, I believe it was from, sorry, I lost my place. From Matthew Sharma. So actually, I think Matthew did have a mic, so if he's still there, Matthew, can you go ahead and ask your last question?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I didn't have you unmute at the time, but go ahead.
Yes, Matthew, I can hear you.
Okay, so as a concept designer, what would you say to a concept designer or art director that says that your work should always be ready to hand in at any moment? And a good example would say, the art director would say you have to do a line drawing first and then fill in value, because throughout the day, throughout an 8-hour day, they might ask for your artwork at any given time.
Yes.
So what would you say to that person?
Okay, that I never worked for somebody who required that from me.
Okay.
I mean, I would feel it's a really restricting request, and it kind of leaves not much space to experiment. And I mean, sometimes there are paintings which go quite like a straight way which would be ready to hand out at any time, but sometimes it's like, I feel it's just hard to manage that. But yeah, if you go a process with like first doing a line drawing, then putting in your values, and then go the next step, putting in color. I mean, with those kind of process, you can really help this, help hitting this request, because it always keeps you ahead of things, and always keep the control on your side, like what you're doing. But I would say the downside of this is that there's not much room for happy accidents. But maybe your art director is okay with that, and it's pretty much he knows exactly what he expects you to do, and then it's okay for him to not having these accidents and not as much room for creativity in your process. So yeah, I would try to I mean, in the end of the day, you kind of have to hear this request, but maybe you can it's hard to say. It's really about like this creative part and how important this creative element is for him. So if he would say that to me, I would I think I would accept it. And if he pays me and he wants me to do it a certain way, then he gets what he wants to have. But yeah, he maybe loses the chance of some interesting other outcome he could have gotten by a more creative process. So I hope that answers your question.
I hope so. So thanks a lot for that question, Matthew. And I think that will conclude our Q&A for today. Sorry to those of you who had multiple questions that we couldn't get to, but I think we got to everyone that joined in for the most part, at least once. So I think that's a success. I have to thank Patrick for giving us his time and for demonstrating a wonderful workshop. And for those of you who are interested in purchasing additional workshops, they are still available for sale. So I would say check back on the site and see what other ones you may be interested in. But beyond that, this particular session has been recorded, and we should have it uploaded to the site within a couple of days or so. So again, thank you all so much for participating, and thank you again, Patrick, for your time.
Thank you, everybody, for participating and just joining the workshop. It was really fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.